It was at the end of my high school time. A classmate of mine, he had asked me, I would love to join him to see a football match, or as you call it in the United States, a soccer match. In German, it's Fußball. And yes, I agreed, and I really loved to accompany him to the stadium. And yeah, I was already astonished when we arrived that there were kind of two separate parts in the stadium, one for the team that was at home in this stadium, and another part for the people who were kind of the guests in this game. Yeah, and I think we all know those pictures when really the fans of two parties, when they really kind of yeah, are fighting against each other, and that's something with which I love to explain conflicts. A conflict occurs if there are two different opinions that seem to be so different that there is no solution, that you cannot come to a common side. A common side might be, oh, we all love soccer or football, or German football, European, let's say European football, and that people just go there to have a nice afternoon. The conflict really occurs if they say we have to win and we have to win. And yes, in a championship, I know it's always this principle: one team has to win. And so it's possible that conflicts occur. If there is only, let's say, that people have two different opinions and they can talk about this, then the problem is not as severe as when people really think, oh, he or she is my enemy. I do not know if you know Paul Watzlawick, and he said that in each message that we are sending, there is a level of content and a relational level. And some people also put it into the what is called iceberg model of communication. And above the surface, you have the content level, and below the surface, you have the relational level. If we have what I call a misunderstanding above the surface, then it's not that difficult to resolve this. So, for example, if I want to meet a friend of mine, and I noted that we are going to meet at 3 o'clock, and she noted 4 o'clock, and we realize it in advance, then it doesn't help if we start arguing whose fault it was, or who's right and who's wrong, or who started with this. The best thing to resolve this misunderstanding is to find a solution. And so maybe a solution might be to meet at 3:30. And then we do not have a conflict. But in case that this friend, in my opinion, is always late, and or maybe I can't rely on her, then it's possible that, and now I'm pointing to my belly, to my gut, and because what's below the surface very often has to do with my values. So, for example, if my friend, if she has touched one of my values, being in time, then it's possible that I will think, oh, it's always the same with her. She isn't reliable. I can't trust her, and all these things. And then it's probable that we are going to have a conflict. The same things happen in an office. If it's only, let's say, two different opinions, then it's not so difficult to find a common solution. If it's really that there are values that are very, very different, then it's much more probable that a conflict will arise. The best way to deal with conflicts is to already look at those conflicts at the very beginning, at the level when I still call them misunderstandings or different opinions. If we start to already resolve these misunderstandings, or if we try to find a solution for these different opinions, then it's possible that we will not have a big conflict. Once a conflict has arisen, it takes a little bit more time. I'm very often called into situations and teams where there are 2 or more persons who have conflicts with each other. And very often I realize that one person said something and the other one completely misunderstood it. It was completely against his or her values. And one of those persons kind of sticks to what was said. And then I show each person that, for example, the person who had not realized that he or she was violating the values of the other one, that he or she at least should accept that there was a violation of values. And then I ask the other person who felt that his or her values had been violated, and what is your part in this conflict? Sometimes people sit there like this, I haven't done anything. I really don't know what happens. And then to realize if there is a conflict, and those cases that I have experienced, there was always somebody who maybe said something or didn't say something. This can also cause a conflict. I know this from my own experience. If people just like kind of walk away and don't say a word, this can also be the beginning of a conflict. So it is important to really take the responsibility. 50% of the communication of 2 persons, that's my responsibility. And the other 50%, that's the responsibility of the person I'm talking to. And if each of us is taking his or her responsibility, then it's much easier. So the example that I just said with those people, 2 people in the office, if one person says, okay, yes, I'm sorry that I said something that hurt you. I'm sorry, I didn't know that this hurt you. And the other person can say, okay, yes, now I realize that you didn't want to hurt me. It was that you kind of touched my values and I felt hurt. I know that there are also situations where people hurt each other with purpose. I'm not talking about these situations. Then it's, let's say, a little bit more tricky to resolve the conflict, but it's possible anyway. So in most of the situations, it's really that both parties say, okay, I didn't realize what effect it had when I said this. And I also ask people, do you really want to stick to this pain that you still have in yourself? Or do you prefer to find a solution, to have a better way of working together, to have a better way of communicating? When I have 2 parties like this in one of the teams that I'm coaching, then I ask those people to sit at a table, one on my right side, the other one on the left side. And very often I do not take the role of a mediator, but of a moderator. And in Latin, moderate means, in English, it's the same word, moderate. Maybe one can also say to kind of calm down. And when I realize that one person gets angry, then I just tell them, oh, can you see what's happening now? That you are very touched and that it's more your feeling than it's really, and that you're more on the level of relation instead of being on the level of content. And when we kind of have sorted out which belongs to which level or content or relationship, relational, then very often, not only very often, and in the cases I know, those people got, let's say, had a deeper understanding for what had happened, for what had taken place. And this was, yeah, like a nice rain on is somebody when you have a big thunderstorm, and when after the thunderstorm the air is clear again. And this very often happens when we have resolved a conflict. At the beginning, people are sitting like this, and then when they could release the conflict, to release it in the way as it is meant, then they have a much better attitude towards the other person and also towards the work situation. Coming back to playing soccer, I think we all know that if you only have a goalkeeper, you won't win the match. It's really important to have those different roles, like the one in the defensive and the middle field and in the offensive. And if you really have a good understanding between these roles, then your team can really be successful. So it's really worth resolving a conflict. In case that you have to deal with one, and in case that you would like to get some support from me, you can always book a free strategic call with me. And I will love to support you in resolving the conflicts that you have. I know from my own experience, and I have quite a lot of experience, that it's very good to be well prepared to go into a talk when it's about resolving a conflict. If I know my position, then it's good for me to, yes, to also not only to give in, but to also let the other person know what my values are. And that's so, in the meaning of the word, it's so valuable for a discussion when you're resolving a conflict, to know your own position. Many conflicts only arise because people are not clear about their intentions and about their values. So please feel free to contact me, and you can also leave your comment on the LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, where this stream is posted at the same time. And please let me know what I can do for you, if it's in regard to conflicts or in regard to other situations. I wish you all the best for your teamwork. I hope you have a very appreciative and peaceful atmosphere in your company and in your teams. Take care and see you next week for the next time. Love and peace in company's life. Your impulse on a Wednesday. Have a nice